beautiful souls, and welcome to the REVA Experience podcast. Real women, real shifts, real conversations. I'm your host, Rosemary Evangelista, certified Ikigai coach, therapeutic art coach, and founder of the REVA Experience. This podcast is for women 45 and beyond who are navigating change, whether it's retirement, loss, reinvention, or that big question we've all asked at some point. Now what? My hope is to guide you back to your own inner truth, your purpose, and the spark that's always been there. Today, I'm thrilled to introduce you to a remarkable woman who truly embodies the spirit of transformation, Beverly Zeimet. Beverly is the co-founder and producer at Flip Your Frequency Digital Products and the owner and CEO of Alternative Solutions with Results. She's an energy healer, practitioner, and transformational specialist with a powerful mission to help others reveal their true identity through the healing power of frequency. Her work is all about clearing what's blocking you and helping you reconnect with who you really are at the energetic level. This episode is filled with wisdom, insights, and a few moments that might just shift something inside you. Let's dive into this inspiring conversation with Beverly Zeimet. Beverly, you're an energy healer. Tell me about
I am? What gave you that idea? I have worked with energy, Rosemary, for, oh my goodness, I'd have to say all my life, but knowingly, probably close to 50 years now. And it just keeps more advancement and more advancement and more advancement. And it's really interesting to see where the understanding and the acceptance of energy work in accordance with frequency. And there's still a lot of people that don't understand it, but they're open to understanding it more and beginning to realize the power of it and to really acknowledge and accept the idea that everything is energy. So if you look under an intense microscope, everything's moving, right? That's frequency, that's vibration. Those two words are usually interacted. And a lot of times vibration is more or less, to sound, like sound healings and things like that. But everything is movement. And so when we see solid things like you get your hand around it, well, all that is the frequency kind of slowed down to make it solid.
And that's so true. Everything has energy, but it's the different levels of energy and vibration that we pick up on or we don't pick up on, right?
Well, we pick it up. It's whether we're conscious of it or not is another story.
That's true.
And everyone has had those aha moments, that little intuition, that gut feeling. There's so many different names for it. And sometimes we push it off, and other times we pay attention. But have you ever noticed
how hard it hits us, right?
Yeah, that's right. So if you don't pay attention when it first comes, it's going to keep hitting harder and harder. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure. And so what you were just saying about if we don't pay attention, those vibrations, those energy feelings that we get if we don't pay attention, come back to us in our life as different experiences to say, hey, wake up, I've got a message for you, or you need to change, right? So how did you first discover that this was something that you needed to do? Was there an aha moment for you, or did energy come really hard to you and say, hey, wake up, I'm tuning into this?
I think the experience happened way back in my childhood because I'm not any taller now than I was when I was in 8th grade. And that's 4'11" 3/4. So I decided I'm going to stay under 5 foot now so I don't have to grow up. But the being picked on, and now they call it bullying, right? So I was called short, runt, you name it. And so it was like the people that would overpower you, whether it was classmates, cousins, siblings, neighbors down the road that you're playing with as a child and growing up with. We're teasing you about being short. I grew up fighting. So it was that power. And then rather than the physical fighting, as life started to getting, a little more advanced, it's like, now this little conniving, and I call it strategy these days, is I would set up an event that I knew that would get caught. But because of my intuition, I'd always disappear when I knew the teacher was coming. That's usually happened in school more than anywhere. Or even sometimes when mom or dad was coming, I'd disappear. And then it was like, you could hear it because I was watching from the outside and they would get in trouble. And it was like my way of getting even, so to speak, So that's kind of how I used it back in the day when I really didn't understand what it was. And, but moving through the ranks and moving up into it. And in 1974, I grew up on a farm in the Midwest a long time ago. And that was the first time when I heard that energy voice saying to me, which is my higher consciousness, mind over matter.
Mm.
Well, I can tell you right now, in the Midwest in 1974, there was no knowledge of energy work or metaphysical stuff. Nothing had reached that part of the country. And, and of course, we didn't have the digital space we have now. And so it was all done internally. And I just kind of, worked with that. And it's like, well, I don't know what that means. The interpretation that came back at that time was start living your life for you and your kids. Because I was going through some major challenges and I wasn't living the life. I had lost my identity. And so living my life for me and my kids, I understood that. And that took me into a different growth to where I become more identified with the who I am now as a parent. I had 3 children under the age of 5. And, so it's like they're my responsibility. And I really need to get my act together now if I'm going to take them and go and do what my plans are. And so working with that really helped me then to start paying more attention to that higher consciousness and that source and just follow with determination. I knew what my end game was, and it's no different than today, just like what you and I are working on, that end game.
Yeah.
Right? And reverse it back. What are the pieces and moving things that have to happen for that result to come to fruition? And so it's just the application is a little bit different. In 79, I moved to Denver, Colorado. It's way different than little farm country. And that's when I was first exposed to Silva mind control in 1982. That explained everything that ever happened my entire life. Like, oh, well, now it makes sense. Why didn't I find that out sooner? Right?
That's a question that we ask ourselves so often. Why didn't I find this, or why did this happen to me? Especially, women 45 and over.
Right.
We've lost our identity, and like, what now? Why did this happen, and what am I learning from this? Maybe we don't even ask that question. What do I learn from this? Because we're so stuck in that lost identity.
Exactly, because it's so subtle as those things move, and all of a sudden our identity becomes by association. Oh, you're so-and-so's mom. You're so-and-so's wife. You're the person that checks my groceries out. You're the one that works at the laundromat. You're the one that mows the grass. You know what I'm saying? It's just by default. But who am I? And how I started to overcome that, Rosemary, is I started to say my name. Whenever I was associated with something like my kid's mother or married to so and so, I would just say, "No, my name's Beverly." You want to talk about dead silence? Like what? You know? But it started to give me my identity, and I started to really do that soul searching of who I am. And with the Silva Mind Control, that course really went deep into that inner knowing and being able to do that and to survive in a man's world, because I was in the automotive industry at that time, had my own business, and I was selling to body shops. And on top of that, I didn't have a place of business. I was a wagon jobber. Just like when you see the tool trucks running around, and then you open up the door and, hey, what kind of sandpaper do you want? What kind of nuts and bolts do you want? What kind of tape do you want? What kind of,
That's
and I
interesting.
had my regulars, right? And so I really rocked and and tipped the ship a lot for 9 years. And but the connections that I had with that was understanding the workings of the male brain, because they didn't understand the workings of the female brain. And so they would come to me because I built that know, like, and trust. And they would ask me, "Beverly, I don't know what to do." Because you could tell something was wrong, right? It's just like, my wife wants a divorce, and I said, "What do you?" I just, "No." And I said, "So what are you doing about it?" He goes, "I don't know what to do. I bought her a new car. I bought her a house. I did this. I did that. I did that." And it's like, that's not what she wants. And so you start talking with them and you say, listen, hear what she's saying. All she wants is this. She wants to feel safe. She wants to feel secure. She wants to feel supported. And they're like, huh? And then you tell them what to
And
do.
they're thinking, yeah,
And
I'm doing all that, but they're not doing it in the way that resonates with you.
no, no, because you're trying to buy that.
Yeah.
It's not for sale. I said, tell them something really simple, and you talk about, like, it was really bizarre. I said, just go home, put your stuff down, walk over, give her a kiss and a hug, and just walk her over. Don't say anything. Walk her over to the couch, sit down, and put your arms around her, put her head on your shoulder, and just let her feel that comfortability.
I
And
think
you
so
don't say
simple.
a word until she speaks first.
Yeah.
And it was like, there's no way. And I said, you come back next week after you do what I told you to do. If it didn't work and she kicked your butt out on the street, I'll give you a case of tape. A case of tape back then was worth $50. That was a lot of money. And so it's like, okay. I said, however, though, if it does work, you got to give me a $250 order. Okay, so that was a deal, because men like to make deals because they like to be proven right,
Yeah.
not wrong. I never ever gave away a case of tape. And that started that counseling, that education, that understanding. And so today, moving back out into the forefront of different things from a different perspective with the digital space, it's like, why not bring this to the forefront? Like you're saying, 45 and over is your audience. And it's like, find your identity of who you are now, because a lot of them are starting to be empty nesters, or they've gone through a divorce, or they're stepping out of working for someone and becoming independent and working for themselves. Now the disconnect with a partner can really be a situation, because I don't know how to communicate with them anymore. Now they're up here on my level and they feel competition. So all of these things kind of happen, right? But when you understand the workings of the brain and how to be able to communicate and really hear those key words, that love language, so to speak, right?
So you're talking about how a male partner can connect properly with like their wife. What
Mhm.
about the other way? How can a woman really, or a wife or a girlfriend, partner, connect with their mate, a male.
Okay, so understanding where the male brain comes and how it works. The male brain is compartmentalized. It's like going into a hardware store and you find this bin that has like 300 little drawers in it, right? Here's nuts over here, bolts over here, screws over here, right?
Mm-hmm.
A man's brain operates that way. When they pull a compartment out, they have to empty it before they can close it and go to the next one. Now, a woman doesn't have compartments. Everything is open. And that's why men say women's brains are complicated. So it's listening to when you have that breather. Let them finish. But again, the listening part is hear the words they're saying and stay in the present. Because what happens, we find ourselves racing out ahead, thinking we know what they're going to ask. And therein lies a major disconnect, because how many times have you heard from your partner, or you have stated to your partner saying, that's not where I'm going. Just shut up and listen.
Oh, yeah.
So it's staying in the present, and it takes discipline. But if you really want it to work, listen to those key words, because those key words that you hear, and if it's something that you don't quite understand, come back with, okay, before I say anything, let me make sure what you're asking me is how I personally interpreted it, and say it. And the other person is definitely going to say no, or they're going to say, just about one thing you're missing is this. Got it. Then the male brain will pull out that compartment, let them finish. And sometimes you might have to say, okay, let me know when you're finished, and I won't interrupt you. Men are really good about interrupting because they like to think they know more because of the ego thing. But you're looking at more powerful women now, especially those that have been very successful in business, because you have masculine, feminine sides of yourself. So your left brain and your right brain need to start really communicating too. So you need to make sure that you're communicating on both aspects there, which then makes it a lot easier to work with the opposite gender, or even with the same gender that may be overridden by, one gender or the other. So if their inner workings are just giving them that, that male aspect or that female aspect, either sides, their brains are going to start functioning like that. So there's still those compartments, and women still have compartments, especially when it comes to business. Because of the strategies that they have to work, the stair step, measures, this many steps to get here, and so those strategic moving parts that make your business successful are compartments, right? So if women aren't understanding compartments in business, their business is not going to succeed as high level as it could.
Right.
Yeah.
There's another observation that I've made, actually in my own relationship with my husband, but I've asked a couple of my friends as well. When you're talking about the balance, it always, I don't want to say it leads into an argument, but it seems like it's a disagreement. He'll be saying one thing, describing whatever it is that we're talking about. I'll be saying something in a different way, but we're talking about the same thing, and he's arguing about that he's right because this is the way it is. But we're saying the same thing, but in a different way.
Yeah, it's reframed, and they don't understand the reframe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so to stop an argument, it's the same type of argument you have with your subconscious. So when that inner critic, sometimes the self-sabotager, okay, same thing. It has to be right. So you let it be right. And so it's like, okay, because when there's no battle, there's no war.
Right.
It takes a bigger, stronger person to stop the battle, because then you win the war. So do you want to be right or do you want to win? And it's not a surrender. It's like, you know something, darling? You are so right. I never looked at it from that perspective before. Have you ever looked at it from my perspective? Is it as strange to you as yours was to mine? Boom. Now you've put a question out there, because now they have to answer your perspective.
That's very good. Yeah. That's so true.
Yeah.
That puts a damper on the argument.
Power. Yeah.
The power
Yeah.
control. Yes.
Yeah.
Who's
And
right?
that's how you can stop an argument before damage control has to happen.
Yeah. So true. It's
Yeah.
amazing. The male brain thinks this way and the female thinks this way, and we're thinking the same thing, but it's not. It's communicating.
You're just saying it different.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
so easy.
Yeah.
Easy to misunderstand each other.
Exactly. And that's that disconnect.
Yeah.
But if we know how to soften the disconnect and share different perspectives, it's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
Because they have to stop and say, no, I never looked at it from that way, but well, maybe there is something to this, because there's no war anymore. Yeah, try it, see what it works. I'd like to hear. Maybe your listeners out there try it too, and come back and comment on this podcast. How'd that work for you?
Exactly. It's some good advice, and we just need to be able to tune into that advice in the midst of that energy conflict. Yeah.
And both parties need to really be present when a perspective is coming out, when a comment is made about something, right? Really hear word for word. And again, it's like, let me think about this, because I've never looked at it from your perspective. So you said yada yada. I interpret it as this. Am I close? Is that what you're trying to say? And they'll either say yes or no. I say, well, could you explain it a little bit deeper? Because my brain goes this way. Has your brain ever gone that direction? Now you're in a conversation, and they're forced to open a different compartment because their compartments went shut. Now they have to, oh, there it is, and pull it out.
Interesting.
So you have to give them time, because they're searching, and that's where patience come in.
Yeah.
A woman is going to find it just like that, because it's floating right by. She's already prepared. A man is not. He's got to find the compartment. when you start looking at it from that perspective,
so Beverly,
you get a good laugh too.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Is there something that you can offer the audience? Anything that's going on for you with events, or any other advice?
Oh gosh, I'm doing a 3-day boot camp at the end of July, but and then it'll be like every 6 weeks, so it's going to be an ongoing boot camp. But I also have coming up in July different dates for like a 2-hour introduction into what the boot camp is all about and the intensive thing, so people can come in and get a taste of it.
Oh, nice.
And especially those that are trying to get back on the dating scene, because at 45 and over, you start, you're up there stretching out into that baby boomer era. And so there's a lot of people out there searching for this, that, and the other thing. So it's like, how do I, it's like, okay, how do I get back in the dating game? Because if I get into this, I want to find a partner that's healthy, one that gets me, one that I get. So where you can be on the same page, be on the same ground, doing things. It's like, we've tested waters, and sometimes relationships work and other times they don't. And there's a lot of women out there now who are searching for that forever after. So to live that happy ever after with the love of your life, whether they're currently in your life and need a little bit of connection, or if they're starting over, to find that, because life is short and it depends on what end of the spectrum you're on. Like, I'm up in that baby boomer era, I don't want to play the game. I want to just jump in, right? And when you know what you're jumping into and everybody's on the same page, bingo, right?
Absolutely. Well, that's great, Beverly. So when we'll put your contact information and your events, it'll be in the podcast here. This has been
I'll make sure you get those links and contact information, and we'll go from there and see what happens.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for being on my podcast. This is exciting. This is a new adventure for me too. So I'm stepping out of my comfort zone, and I'm going for it. Hey, 74 is not too old, and definitely not going to limit me in getting the message, like your message, which is really important to get out.
Yeah, and we look at age numbers.
They're only numbers.
And they're only numbers. I'm 75. These are our wisdom years. If we don't share the wisdom, who's going to share, right? Exactly. So the experiences that we have, let us together here help you out there, the audience, to get further down the road in a shorter amount of time.
Yes.
Without the rocky rocks to climb, right?
Exactly. You know that saying, I wish I knew then what I know now. So we're helping you get the wishing you know now.
Right. And podcasting is a great way to do it. The technology in today's world has made the world smaller.
Absolutely. It's amazing. I mean, we're basically the same age. We grew up, the television came out just a few years before we were born. And look how much technology has changed.
I know those black and white things, I mean, when I graduated from college in 69, I was a key punch operator. That took up a huge amount of space.
Yeah.
And now we put it in our pocket right here, right?
A mini computer.
Oh my gosh. That's right. So when you look at all of that, so do you think we came through a few things? We might know a few things?
Maybe one or two things.
Yeah, one or two.
Well, thank you again, Beverly. I really appreciate you taking the time to be on the podcast. And to the listeners, I hope you did get some little tidbits of information that can help you through your
journey,
your challenges, and questions in life. So again, thank you. And we'll talk soon.
Yes, it was an honor being here. And hey, comment if you like this and tell us what you want to hear about next time, because there's a lot of us experts out there that are ready to give you the information. Thank you, Rosemary.
Thank you.